Hello, everyone. I am sorry. I am just a bit late getting on. I had a very interesting excuse for being late today. I have a pizza oven in my backyard that we built years ago from a book called Edible Landscaping. And it's all made of clay and straw and sand and dirt. And the outside layer, just from years of use and rain and things, has kind of washed off. So we're needing to replaster the outside of it to be able to use it again. And the secret ingredient for the outside layer is cow manure, fresh cow manure, because it has just like the right fiber content and it's just ground up just the right way. And so I have literally been out searching my neighborhood and knocking on doors of anybody that has cows in their backyard in a pasture to see if I can go and get a bucket full of cow manure. And nobody was home. I went to 4 houses and nobody was home. So that's why I was a little late, because I was on a search for cow manure. Not everybody gets to say that every day. And I did not find any. So it was a failed search. But here we are. So what I want to talk about today is, first of all, I want to dive into the book. We had an absolutely fabulous book launch event here at the homestead on Tuesday. Had so many amazing people. And I really wanted to share with you some of what I shared that night with the group that was with us. You know, the thing that has me most concerned about the world that we live in right now is that we're going backwards when it comes to health. For the second year in a row, life expectancy has actually decreased in the United States. And 54% of people in the United States say that they want to improve their health in some way. You're probably on that list. Most of us are. The one that really has me concerned as well is that for the first time in history, our children are sicker than their parents or grandparents were at the same age. This is just not okay. Why is this happening? And the one that's really kind of alarming is something called health span. So lifespan is the length of life you live. Health span is the quality of life that you live. So ideally, we would all have the same lifespan and health span, right? We live to 100, let's just round it up. We live to 100 and we feel great to 100. That would be the goal. But that's not what actually statistics are showing. Statistics are showing that on average, people are living to about 73 years or so, but their health span is only going to 61.9 years. So what that means is the last decade of life is in lower quality of life. And 61.9 years, my gosh, I'm not very far from that number right now. It's defined as you can't bathe yourself, you can't dress yourself, you can't get up out of a chair without assistance. Oh my word. Please tell me that we're going to be able to do those things past the age of 61.9 years of age. I want my health span and my lifespan to be the same or very, very close to it. So there's something that's missing in our world today. We aren't understanding how health works, and we aren't understanding that we can stay well. That's the big thing. We can stay well. So I need your help right now. Anyone that's listening to this, and I'll do it again at the end, I need your help because I want to know, first of all, what it is about the medical and wellness system that isn't serving you. So please send your comments over here. We're going to get them. This is all, it was interesting. Yesterday was my last day of seeing patients clinically in my dental practice right now. And it was a really bittersweet day, but some people were calling it retirement, and I just laugh because it was about 5 minutes into my day yesterday when I went, I know what I'm going to do now. I'm going to create the medical department of Total Care Dental and Wellness. I'm going to create the wellness department. So what I want to know is what is not serving you right now. You can see the question there on the screen. What is not serving you right now? When I started Total Care Dental, which was in 2001, so 24 years ago, when I started Total Care Dental, the entire intent at that point was to recreate the experience of dentistry. So I literally asked this exact same question. What about the dental system isn't serving you? And people said, well, it costs more than we'd like. It's painful. I don't like the smells in a dental office. That typical, my dad's a dentist. So I remember walking in his office and like my eyes would almost sting even with that like dental office smell. So they'd say, I don't like the smells in a dental office. I don't like that, like nobody really knows who I am. I don't like that the dentist talks to me with my mouth full. Like we got all of these answers. I don't like that my hair's all flat and squished and I look terrible when I'm leaving. All of these things that they didn't like about dentistry. And we very intentionally reformulated, recreated the dental experience. And so we started off with what we called spa dentistry, where we were, creating an experience. We had massage chair pads on the chairs. We had fresh bread and cookies baking all day long, so it smelled great. We had hairspray and makeup in the bathroom so that you could freshen up after. We were doing paraffin hand wax dips. We had, noise canceling headphones and TVs long before any of this was kind of the norm. So we really changed that experience. We talked to you, we knew who you were. And now I've been doing that for 25 years. And now it's time that I do that for the wellness areas or the wellness part of our medical system. What is not serving you there? That's what I now am going to create. And it will mesh beautifully with the dental office. So some of the things that I'm already kind of, bouncing around in my mind are, why do we not have wellness checks as an adult? You go to the dentist every 6 months. Why? Because you want to make sure you don't have cavities. You want to make sure that your teeth are cleaned. Well, what do we do every 6 months from a medical standpoint? Nothing. I don't remember the last time I actually went to a doctor, but there are things we could do. If it was an inexpensive check in, check up, if it was largely virtual, would you do it? Would that be something you'd be interested in? Because what I believe is the symptoms that we are experiencing are our cells telling us what they need and our cells telling us why they aren't well. So instead of covering over those symptoms, which we do by taking a pill, in fact, I have to share the story. Just yesterday, I saw a gentleman and he said that he'd been diagnosed with sleep apnea. Then he lost a little bit of weight. And he was diagnosed with sleep apnea, was given a CPAP. He didn't love it, but it was tolerable and it helped him sleep better. And he actually ended up losing a little bit of weight. After he lost the weight, he didn't feel like he needed the CPAP as much. But then he put on the weight again. He started back on the CPAP and he's so claustrophobic, he can't wear it anymore. Well, when we went through his medical history, he's on high blood pressure medication. And I explained to him, I said, interestingly enough, what that high blood pressure medication does is decrease your blood pressure. But the reason your blood pressure is up is because you're not getting enough oxygen. So each of your red blood cells is only half full. So when they're only half full, your heart has to pump more of them to the cells to get enough oxygen there. So the blood pressure increases. So instead of backing up and saying, why is my blood pressure increasing? Is it because I'm not getting enough air and more blood cells have to get to my organs? No. Instead, what we're doing is saying, let's take a high blood pressure medication. Let's turn it off. So I said, so what you've done in essence with your blood pressure medication is you've turned off your body's ability to accommodate for your low oxygen. So now you are starving every single cell in your body of oxygen. No wonder you have no energy because oxygen is the fuel for energy. No wonder you have no energy. And he just went, are you kidding me? I was just told I have to take this medication because my blood pressure is up. I said, yeah. So you're going to take it for a little while, but what we're going to do is we're going to get your oxygen up by things we're going to do dentally in order to then get your oxygen to the cells you need, and your blood pressure will naturally decrease on its own. So that's what I want to be able to do is I want to help you interpret your symptoms. Okay, you have high blood pressure that you didn't have 6 months ago. What could that mean? What could that be showing us about what's going on in the body? And then we dig a little deeper and try to find what is it that could be threatening your wellness and what could you do right now to stay well? So I'm going to share a story with you, and I've shared this numerous places. You may have heard it before, but I still think it's so powerful. I'm going to share it again. When I was in Morocco about a month ago, I had the opportunity to take a camel out to the middle of the Sahara Desert, stay in a camp overnight there, and then ride a camel back. Well, everybody in the camp, including my husband, except for myself, my daughter, and her friend, they all decided to ride the truck back because the camel wasn't exactly a luxury ride. I'll just say that. It wasn't exactly very comfortable. They decided to ride the truck back. But I said, when else am I ever going to ride a camel in the Sahara Desert? Absolutely, I'm riding the camel back. So I was riding the camel back, and there were only 3 of us for this big, long camel train of camels. So there was a guide that was directing where to go. And I started having a conversation with this guide. And I asked him just questions about his life. I found out that he had been nomadic until he was 15 years old. So what had happened is, they would go and they would camp. Their animals would eat the grass there. When the grass was gone, they would pack it back up and they would move to a new place with new grass. Well, that was a crazy life. As I started thinking about that, I had all these questions about how it worked and what they would do. And we passed this milk thistle bush as we went along. There wasn't a lot growing, but I passed a milk thistle bush. And so I asked him, I know milk thistle, is medicinal. I said, when you were in the desert and you were, traveling around campsite to campsite, what did you do when you got sick? What was your medicine? What did you do when you got sick? And he turned around and he looked at me with this kind of questionable looking look on his face. And he said, we didn't get sick. And that just made me pause. I said, what? We didn't get sick. That's what we're missing in today's world, is this concept that we don't have to just wait until we get sick. We can stay well. And our symptoms are our signs for what we need to do to maintain that wellness or return to wellness if needed. If we're already not well, then obviously we need to return to wellness. But would it be helpful to you to see someone for a wellness check every 6 months? Just like you see your dentist for a checkup every 6 months. Would it be helpful to you? For me, 6 months is a long time and a lot could change in the body. That's about as far as I would want to go. If it's quick, it's easy, it's online, it's inexpensive. It's a check-in. How you doing? Hey, it was so fun to see you. I haven't seen you in 6 months. How are the kids doing? The things that we've actually been able to do inside of a dental office, get to know you better, get to know your life and your body and the way you work. And so please keep sharing with me. If you weren't on here originally, my question is, what about the medical system isn't serving you right now? What isn't serving you? Please share your comments. Let me know, because this is what I'm going to be creating over the next 6 months, is this system that can help you stay well, can help you interpret your symptoms so that you know what they're saying, can help you know what your steps are to keep those cells well, and utilizing as much as possible the elements of the earth. This isn't about fancier technology, fancier testing, fancier supplements, crazy diets. I'm not about any of that kind of stuff. I'm about saying, what do your cells need and how can we get it from the earth that surrounds us? How can we utilize those things that are already there and that our cells are already equipped and designed to use? How can we figure out how to use them in our own lives? So thank you for that information. I'm going to put this on all social channels as well. I need as much information as I can get right now. What about the medical system is not serving you? All right. So in the last few minutes that we've got here, I do want to do a couple of questions. I've got a few here. Can a failed root canal be a cause for explained onset of fatigue and horrible headaches? Okay, so let's dig into this. This is the exact story. So I'm going to use what I just shared with you and answer this question. The symptoms are the signs that your cells are giving you. So if you have fatigue and horrible headaches, let's talk about both of those things. Fatigue can be from a couple of things. It can be from low oxygen levels. So low oxygen levels, basically your body uses oxygen in every single cell to power up its energy creation processes. Without oxygen, so with oxygen, your cells run at about 32 miles an hour. Without oxygen, they run 2 miles an hour. I mean, that's a drastic difference. So when people say things like, I just don't have the energy I used to, I say, then you don't have the oxygen you used to, because oxygen is what fuels your fire, your energy. So this could be a couple of different things. Number one, we look at your airway, the ability to actually get enough air. And could that be connected to the root canal? Yes. How? If you have a failed root canal that is infected, that infection will lead to swelling in this mouth and throat area. And if you already perhaps were prone to this because you had a small mouth, there wasn't enough room in there to begin with, and then you add inflammation and swelling, you're not going to be able to breathe past it. You're going to get less oxygen than you used to. So that is one thing that I absolutely look at from a fatigue standpoint. The second thing that ties directly into is if you're not getting enough oxygen at night, you're not able to sleep deeply. So we often will see people clenching and grinding, and they think, I don't know why I'm doing this. I wake up with sore muscles, which are headaches. Okay, this all ties together. Wake up with sore muscles and headaches, and I can't figure out what this is all about. Well, because in order to keep that airway open at nighttime, you have to squeeze your teeth. That's the clenching and grinding. It makes all your muscles sore. And in doing that, you're not able to go to REM sleep, the deepest level of restorative sleep. You're not able to get there because you can't move a muscle and be in that sleep. So if you clench to keep your airway open, you never are sleeping deeply. So you feel great fatigue. So absolutely a root canal can be related to a lot of that. How about headaches? Well, I just described one of the main reasons for headaches. This clenching and grinding, moving your bottom jaw open, all of these things to help get more air. A headache is a muscle that's firing inappropriately, right? Too much, too often. The signals are not correct to that muscle. So that tells us something is out of balance in this system, in this head neck system. Something is out of balance. Either you're not getting enough oxygen, there's something pinched back here, it has to change the position of the head, or from a chemical signaling standpoint, you're not getting the correct chemicals. So we start to peel this onion back, for lack of a better metaphor. We start to peel this onion back and say, okay, what thing do you have? Let's interpret your symptoms and let's figure out where to start. All right, so I love it. I'm getting some of the things coming through here. Thankful, found an excellent holistic dentist. So glad I had all my root canals removed. Excellent. Very, very good. Somebody said, sounds like you're describing getting back to the basics. That's exactly what I'm talking about. The ways that your grandmas used to stay well. That's what we're trying to figure out again. Okay, they don't get to the root cause. So tell me if these are all things you're agreeing with. These are ways the medical establishment has not worked for you. They don't get to the root cause. It's all front for selling pharmaceuticals. I'm tired of cover the symptom approach. Love that. And I, talk about when I wasn't well, I would walk out of the office with a prescription in hand because as a practitioner, I'll give you a little insight. We've kind of been programming everyone to expect that they will walk out with something in their hand. So we've been given a prescription because it's a step, right? It's a thing to do because we're kind of disappointed if we walk out of the doctor and got nothing. So they give us a prescription. But I feel like it's, them just kind of throwing darts with a blindfold on, hoping that something will stick or that maybe we'll just go away eventually and not bother them anymore because they don't know the answers. They don't know how to fix it. So I agree with you. They also don't take the time to really listen to your story. Agree with that 100% also. And it is a money game, unfortunately. The insurance companies give enough money for about 12 minutes with a patient. That's it. How can we get your story in 12 minutes? We simply can't. So we have to work outside of insurance networks. And people will say, well, why doesn't my insurance pay for this? Great question. Go ask them. Why don't they pay for this? But yeah, they give your doctor about enough money for 12 minutes. Nobody can get to know you in that amount of time. Some people don't know how to treat people with autism. Okay, this is great. And, it's interesting because I have a very personal story with this. My son that we adopted him when he was just a little over 2.5 years old. He tested at an 8-month-old level when he was 2.5. He was completely nonverbal. I took him to the doctor, and the nurse at the pediatrician's office, she looked at me. She's actually a family friend. She looked at me and she said, what are you doing? Like, why are you adopting this child? He is very clearly autistic. And I said, I'm going to prove you wrong. Now, is he autistic? Perhaps. But you know what? We pushed him past all of the things that he would do. He would put his arm out and stare down his arm and spin in circles. And I would push his arm down and say, we don't do that. He would lay on the floor and watch himself push a truck back and forth. And I would take the truck away and stand him up and say, we're going to go play this way. And I would change things because in my book, what you're going to find, please, everybody go buy the book. Please, 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 please. Why do you need to go buy the book? Because it tells everybody that this is the kind of book that we are interested in knowing and having. And everybody right now, you're going to get the free symptoms assessment. You're going to get the free so that you can start. You can know where to start right now. You're going to get the free first steps guide. You're going to get all that. So go to preorder livingwellbook.com. And everything counts from now until next Saturday. This is the numbers. I mean, obviously, I want to sell books forever, but those are the numbers that count on bestseller lists. All the profits are going to charity. So this is not money in my pocket. This is simply money that we can go and help the world live well with. So please help us out. But anyway, in my book, I actually share a little bit about this boy and about, things, but I really talk about something called epigenetics. Is autism genetic? No, it is not genetic. Why is it not genetic? Because genetics, like they call them phenotypes, so basically the ways that genes will display. It takes 5 to 10 generations for a gene to truly change. Well, what has happened with autism? It's been in 1 to 2 generations. So what that tells us is this is not a change to the DNA itself. It's a change to the epigenetic marks on the DNA. Please go read the book because epigenetics is a difficult concept to comprehend, but I have simplified it down so much. The way I describe it is that every single cell in your body has the same DNA, has the exact same information. Did you know that? But what portions of the DNA is read determines if it's a fingernail cell, if it's a hair cell, if it's a skin cell, if it's a liver cell. The portion of the DNA, or I like to think of it as a recipe book. The portion of the recipe book that's read determines which cell it becomes, but it all has the same recipe book. But here's the interesting thing. The environment we live in May it be, the way that we're treated when we're young, the things that we eat, the things that we experience from a toxin standpoint, the way we move our body, whatever it might be. All of these create marks on the DNA. So I like to think of them like sticky notes and dog-eared pages. When you're reading a book and you dog-ear a page, like, oh, that was a really good book. Dog-eared pages, sticky notes, or little notes in the margins, right? So when you read a recipe, you might read, oh, it says, I wrote last time to use 360 degrees instead of 350. 350 was a little low. So the cool thing is as your cells replicate themselves and remake themselves, those little dog-eared pages and notes in the margins, they go with the DNA. So you haven't changed your DNA. You've changed the marks on them. That is what I believe autism is from. It's from the marks that our environment has placed on the DNA. What is amazing about that is we can take those marks away. We can't change DNA very easily, but we can change those marks, those epigenetic marks. And that's what I did for my son. I said, no, this is not the way we're going to read your DNA. This is not the way you're going to develop. And he didn't. So there are things to change. And that's what we need to know. So thank you for that. We don't know how to treat autism because some of us are, we're all just trying to figure it out. But I believe it's an epigenetic change. Also, each doctor works in isolation. So instead of looking at my whole health, the doctors will send you from one specialist to another. No one ever puts all the puzzle pieces together. I love that so much. And is that not the most frustrating thing ever, to not have any of those people talking to one another? So this is another thing that we're going to be creating with this wellness concept. How do we actually communicate amongst each other for the good of you? Something that's on the list. Thank you. Okay, I have back to dental question here. So we're finishing things off here. Sorry, I'm going to save your questions right there. Okay, I have an infected root canal. I can feel it aching on and off. I am very healthy and overweight. I am very unhealthy and overweight. If I get the surgery, will I be able to heal? Should I wait and try to get healthy first? This is such a fabulous question. What do you do first? Chicken before the egg, right? Which one comes first in this scenario? Well, it is true that you're going to heal slower if your body is already lagging behind. But you really aren't going to be well until you get that root canal out. So my answer is root canals first. What we find is that 60 to 80% of chronic disease can be related to your mouth and is related to your mouth. So if you can get that much cleared up, you are well on your way to wellness with just one simple change. It's pretty amazing. What is the root cause of grinding and clenching? I often find it is a lack of oxygen. So grinding and clenching because you need more air. People grind and clench when they lift weights, when they focus at work, when they're sleeping. Why? Those are all times when you need more air, and it tightens up all the muscles and allows air to pass. All right, I have a very important call right now, unfortunately, so I will be jumping off. But my team is going to grab all of the things that you've written here. Thank you so much. I love all of these things. We're going to grab all of these. Please hit the like button, it says. We're going to grab all of these and save them so that we can use these to create, make sure I save all of them here, so that we can use them to create what we're doing next here, the wellness department. And I'm so grateful that all of you are along for the ride here. Thank you for being here. Make sure to get on our social channels next week. We have giveaways and information all week long. Every single day we have a seasonal giveaway with all sorts of stuff you're going to want to win. We have ways on there for you to do it. Please share the book. Like I said, everything counts from today until next Saturday for book sales. Share it with everyone you know. We've got all sorts of things. I've got a live webinar happen next Tuesday where I dive into the cell well concept and what you can do tomorrow to get well. All of these things, check back all week long next week. You don't want to miss what's going on. Thank you all.